If the St. Louis Cardinals are able to hang around and compete for the wild card spot, who are some players that they could realistically trade for? We'll go through a few of those today on Locked On Cardinals.
You are Locked On Cardinals, your daily St. Louis Cardinals podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hey there, Cardinals fans. I'm JD Hafford, and I'm a national radio sports anchor, born and raised in the Lou, and a lifetime Cardinals fan. And I'm your host for Locked On Cardinals, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, covering your team every day. You can follow me on Twitter, X at JD Sports Radio. You can follow the podcast at LO_Cardinals. I want to thank those of you who make Locked On Cardinals your first listen every day. We are free and available wherever you get your podcasts. On YouTube, you can stop by, like, subscribe, comment, interact with us, get a visual version of the show that you don't get in the audio version. So hit that notification button so you know when the new episodes get posted. This is a show serving Cardinal Nation and giving the best fans in baseball all of the info about the birds on the bat. Today's episode brought to you by eBay Motors. From brakes to exhaust kits and beyond, eBay Motors has over 122 million parts to keep your ride or die alive. With all the parts you need at the prices you want, it's easy to bring home that big win. Keep your ride or die alive at ebaymotors.com. Eligible items only. Exclusions apply. eBay guaranteed fit. Only available to U.S. customers. So the recent surge by the Cardinals had me thinking a little bit the last few days. You know, I know, I get it. It's a little bit premature, especially after we saw what just happened in Philadelphia where they dropped 2 of 3. But the Phillies are an elite team. All right. You know, the Cardinals are not an elite team. We know that. I mean, we could be excited about the winning ways that they displayed recently over the last couple of weeks, and that's fine. But let's not start thinking that the Cardinals are up at the level of the Phillies and the Yankees and some of the best teams in baseball, because they're not there by any stretch of the imagination yet. But that's where trading for players and improving the roster comes into play. So thinking that they were going to go into Philly this weekend and take 2 of 3 and stop that machine of a team, it was a bit unrealistic. I was actually pretty happy to at least come away with 1, which they were able to do with the victory on Sunday night. Played a tough game on Friday night. Saturday wasn't so good. But, they, at least 2 out of 3 games, they were right there with the Phillies. So that was good. So can the Cardinals go on a run and catch Milwaukee at some point? Probably not. Milwaukee's playing some very good baseball, and they, despite missing some very big pieces of the puzzle for the Brewers, they just continue to win. The offense is carrying them right now. It's not impossible, but probably not. Can they compete for a wild card spot? Absolutely. So it doesn't hurt to start window shopping a little bit, if you will, to browse a little bit, if you will. Now that we've begun the month of June, the Cardinals finally got back to the 500 mark just a few days ago, a place they hadn't been since early April. They're 1 game under 500 now after winning on Sunday. And it's got a lot of people, including myself, feeling a whole lot better about the Cardinals situation. Starting with the win on Mother's Day in Milwaukee, they took 2 of 3 from the Angels, who are not a good team, but then 2 of 3 from Boston, who have been hovering around the 500 mark. Then you get the sweep of the Orioles. They're one of the best teams in all of baseball. You take the 2 games that you get to play against the Cubs because 1 got rained out. They were in second place at the time. And then 2 of 3 from the Reds in Cincinnati, who have fallen on hard times, but swept the Dodgers before the Cardinals went into Cincinnati, and just took 2 of 3 from the Cubs. So that was all leading into this weekend in Philly, where they end up, only getting 1 win on Sunday night's game in extra innings. Thank you, Nolan Gorman. But they're now off to Houston to face the Astros, who, despite the record of 26-34, still got a lot of talent on that roster. So you don't want to take them lightly, but the way they've played, can the Cardinals come away with 2 more wins there? Yeah, I don't see why not. And even though the trade deadline is still a couple of months away, it hasn't stopped folks from talking about teams looking to make deals to improve their rosters. So what are some of the things that the Cardinals, looking into it right now, what are the things that they're missing? What are we looking for? What are some pieces where we feel like we're a little bit light? Well, Andre Pallante was really good this past Wednesday, right? With Matt's injury lingering, the inconsistencies of Miles Michaelis. And I know he's been decent, and he wasn't bad on Sunday by any means. A lot of unearned runs, but I think all 4 were unearned, honestly, against Lance Lynn. But if you could upgrade a spot in the rotation, probably something you'll look into, right? Where else are they hurting? Outfield's been a carousel of injuries and lack of production. Newt's dealing with those injuries now. He's on the IL. Dylan Carlson's still not hitting anything. Jordan Walker's in Memphis. We'll talk more about him later. Michael Ciani, great glove, great bunter, not a great hitter. You've got Brendan Donovan, although he's been dealing with a neck issue. Alec Burleson's been very good. And, maybe Tommy Edman at some point, which is going to be the old saying where when he does come back, it's like trading for somebody. You got Tommy Edman back. And everybody will get mad about it. But in theory, it seems like you have plenty of outfielders, but perhaps the Cardinals could target, at least one bat that could add a little more thump to the lineup. And maybe an outfield bat is where you go because your infield's kind of set where it's going to be. There's not a lot of room there. So some of the teams that are likely to move people, Chicago White Sox, the Angels, the A's, the Marlins. As I mentioned, I'm not the only one who's been thinking about this stuff. My buddies over at RedbirdRants.com have also been thinking about these things. Our guy Thomas Gavain wrote a piece talking about some trade targets that he thinks the team should be interested in. And it was hard to argue with some of these. It really was. So I'm going to link that article in the description for you. Let's go through his choices. We'll start with his the first guy he names. I don't know if he's saying it's the number one guy that he thinks the Cardinals should go after, but it's certainly a guy that should be on the list, and that is Erick Fedde, starting pitcher for the Chicago White Sox. Now, Thomas admits that Fedde is going to be someone who is targeted by a lot of people around the league. There's a couple reasons for this. Sox got him from the KBO, and he signed a 2-year deal for $15 million, so he doesn't cost very much. And he's had a pretty good season thus far for a White Sox team that I know they beat the Cardinals, but they're not very good. They're not. So far, he's 4-1 on the season. He's got a 3.12 ERA in 12 starts. Opponents are hitting just .227 against him. He's got 66 strikeouts and 69 in the third innings. He shut down the likes of the Royals, the Twins, the Rays, the Orioles, the Guardians, and the Nationals. He's had a few tough games against the Blue Jays and Guardians. Got hit around a little bit by the Brewers recently. The Cardinals also put up 5 runs against him back on May 4th. But overall, he's been pretty good. And again, you're not looking for this when you say Erick Fedde, you're not talking about somebody who's going to be like your number 2. You're talking about depth in the starting rotation. Thomas says Fedde would slide in immediately as the number 2 starter on the staff, which I don't know if I agree with that. I'm not sure. I still think Kyle Gibson is shown that he's pretty darn good so far. It's hard to knock him from that number 2 pillar, but Erick Fedde's been really good. So is he your number 2 if you put him into this rotation right now? Maybe. I guess maybe. But Thomas continues saying he doesn't get many whiffs, but the fastball plays well. He doesn't walk many batters, and he limits line drives well. The Cardinals would likely have to give up a high-end pitching prospect to make the deal happen, but that shouldn't inhibit John Mozeliak from forming a potent 1-2 punch at the top of the rotation. So he believes that Fedde could be your number 2. I think you should aim higher than Erick Fedde if you're going for somebody who's going to be your number 2 guy. But he's certainly somebody that should be on the list, which I totally agree with. We'll continue with Thomas's list next, which includes a guy who's had a serious impact on this Cardinal team already this season, but in a not so good way. We'll talk about it next on Locked On Cardinals. Passion, drive, and patience. What brings home the winning trophy is also what keeps your ride or die alive. eBay Motors has everything you need to maintain your vehicle and level it up to peak performance, from superchargers, roof racks, exhaust kits, LED headlights, and a whole lot more. Whether you're into speed, maybe you're into power, maybe style, probably all 3, knowing my Cardinals listeners out there who just want the total package. eBay Motors has got you covered. With over 122 million parts for your number 1 ride or die, you'll always find exactly what you are looking for. And with eBay Guaranteed Fit, your part is guaranteed to fit your ride every time, or you get your money back. Because with eBay Motors, you're burning rubber, not cash. With all the parts you need at the prices you want, it's easy to turn your car into the MVP and bring home that win. Keep your ride or die alive at ebay.com/motors. eBay Guaranteed Fit, only available to U.S. customers. Eligible items only. Exclusions apply. Are you watching Fox Sports or ESPN on your TV all day? Have to turn down the volume with all that shouting? Then make the switch to Locked On Sports Today, which is a free 24/7 sports streaming channel programmed for you every day to bring you the biggest stories without all the screaming. Locked On Sports Today brings you can't-miss analysis, opinions, and news streaming 24/7 on YouTube or the free Amazon Fire TV channel's app. It's part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Thanks for making Locked On Cardinals your first listen every day. You can leave your comments on YouTube as well as on Twitter X anytime you want. Your feedback is always welcome and encouraged. Again, this list is coming from our guy Thomas Govain at redbirdrants.com, friend of the show. He's been on here multiple times. We'll try to get him back on this week. Maybe some of his ideas have changed since he dropped this article, but he's going to go with another pitcher in the number 2 spot of targets for the Cardinals, and I kind of like this one. Angels left-handed pitcher Tyler Anderson. Following the 2022 season, the Angels ended up signing Anderson to a 3-year, $39 million deal. So he'd only have 1 year remaining on this deal after the season. 34 years old now, so he fits right into the Cardinals' veteran starting pitching mold. Had a great year in 2022 with the Dodgers, where he went 15-5 with a 2.57 ERA. Last year with the Angels, kind of got smacked around a bit. 6-6, 5.63 ERA. Not so good. But this year, things have been a lot better. He's 5-5 with that ERA, 2.47 in 11 starts. He's not a strikeout guy. Again, fits right into what the Cardinals already have in their starting rotation, but opponents are hitting just 196 against him. He's got 7 quality starts, and being a lefty would also be a nice addition to a Cardinal rotation that features all right-handers outside of Steven Matz when you think about the main 5 guys that have been in the rotation this year. Thomas says he is allowing a lot of fly balls this year, but low exit velocities paired with a slightly better than league average hard hit percentage have limited major damage. Anderson's off-speed pitches are his calling card, and his changeup is one of the best in the league. So that just screams St. Louis Cardinals to me. To get a guy in his mid-30s, doesn't strike out a lot of people. Wow, fits right in, right? Fits right in. But having a pretty decent season for the Angels, and we know they're not going anywhere. All right, coming in at number 3, a guy that we talked about this offseason a lot, and a name that's probably going to be brought up a ton leading into this trade deadline. He's going to be one of the more popular names, and that's going to be the Miami Marlins left-hander Jesus Luzardo. After an excellent 2023 year where he was 10-10, but he had that 3.58 ERA, 208 strikeouts and 178 2/3 innings, still only 26 years old. He's got 2.5 years of control left. This year, he's 2-4. The ERA higher, 4.18. He's got a 50 strikeouts so far in 51 2/3 innings. So that number is down as well. But in the month of May, 2-2, 1.75 ERA and 4 starts. So things have gotten better for Jesus Luzardo. Thomas says this about him, that he is similar to Fedde, would form a dynamic duo with Sonny Gray. Now, that's something I can agree with. I think Luzardo is more of a number 2 kind of guy that you would bring in. It'd be great to go get a number 2 and another depth piece for that rotation, because I just don't trust Steven Matz. I just don't. I'm sorry. Do you trust Andre Palante at this point? I know. Still 2 months before the trade deadline. A lot of things can change, but Luzardo was a guy where you're kind of swinging for the fences on this one. He says the two are mildly different pitchers, as Luzardo has historically been a pitcher who has high strikeout numbers, gives up hard hits often, but the bulk of them wind up being fly balls rather than line drives. His four-seam fastball is his best pitch. It averages 95.5 miles per hour on the radar gun. A left-handed ace to pair with Sonny Gray, who's a righty for the next 2.5 years, is tantalizing, according to Thomas Govain. The Cardinals have been stung in the past by trades with the Marlins, and landing someone like Luzardo, given his age and talent, would require a haul of prospects. If the right deal comes about, John Mozeliak should jump on it. And that's something that I've continued to say, and I know that Mozeliak has been burned with trades with, the Tampa Bay Rays and the Marlins. I get it, but you just can't think that way. You can't be shy. You can't be gun shy when it comes to deals, and you still got to be willing to go out there and take some chances if you want to win championships. That's what teams do. They do that. The safe moves don't always work out. They don't always get you over that hump, if you will. So those are some of the reasons why Luzardo makes a lot of sense. How about another guy on the list here that's brought up by Thomas, Let's go with a hitter. All right. A really cool first name, by the way. I mean, chicks probably dig this guy's first name. And Cardinal fans not so happy with him at the moment because he broke Wilson Contreras' arm, and that's Mets outfielder / DH, more of a DH these days, in JD Martinez. Now, Martinez doesn't play the outfield really at all anymore, so DH. Let's just call him a DH. He is what he is. He's hitting 279. He's got 5 bombs, 15 ribbies, and 122 at-bats, but had 40-plus home runs in 2021 and 2022 with Boston. Last year with the Dodgers, hit 271 with 27 home runs and 103 RBIs. Thomas says this about JD Martinez. Signed a 1-year, $12 million deal this offseason, so the 36-year-old, which fits the Cardinals mold again, likely won't require much in exchange for his services. Hopefully, if the Cardinals are buyers, the move is paired with the addition of a starting pitcher. What about bringing in Quintana again? Seemed pretty good with the Cardinals, just saying. But simply adding an aging bat with decent power likely won't move the needle this year, according to Thomas. And I agree with that. Like, you would want to get somebody else with him to make an impact on this team. Because, I mean, you've got a few bats right now. You don't know what the health is going to be, but Burleson's kind of been nice as your DH when you've got all your outfielders healthy. From the right side, you've still got Contreras and Herrera because, Contreras will come back. So, I don't know. Martinez is something like he'd just be kind of like an added bonus if you're able to get him. I don't hate the idea, but I don't know if the Cardinals are going to go for any sort of offense. I think if they do make any moves, it's probably going to be towards the pitching side of things. That's just me. I feel like they have a lot of faith in the guys that they already got on this roster. They got a ton of them that are supposed to be able to hit. One of them is not even on the roster right now, in Jordan Walker, who we will get to here in just a little bit. Some names that Thomas does not bring up in his article that may be some interest of the Cardinals from the Oakland A's. I've always had a lot of respect for right-handed pitcher Paul Blackburn, 30 years old. He's dealt with injuries this year. He's out right now, actually. He's got a stress reaction in the 5th metatarsal in his right foot. Was still in a walking boot recently. So, but he's not making a lot of money. 3.45 this year, is arbitration eligible again next year before becoming a free agent. Remember that Lance Lynn and Kyle Gibson are both technically on 1-year deals. So, as of right now, you would think Kyle Gibson would be somebody the Cardinals would want to bring back. He's been very, very good. You bring Lance Lynn back. Not that I don't love Lance. And I mean, he pitched pretty well on Sunday night. And I feel like there's more better options out there. That's just me. No offense against Lance Lynn. He's trying. But I think we can do better. And I think Paul Blackburn, when he's healthy, I think he's really, really good. I think he'd be a great fit for the Cardinals. Another player from the A's to look at as far as bat sides of things. How about outfielder Brent Rooker? He's 29 years old, and he's mashing again this year. Kind of came out of nowhere last year. But so far this year, 280, 12 dongs, 39 ribbies in 48 games. Got an OPS of 921, OPS plus of 166. I mean, if you're going to add a bat that's more of a DH kind of guy, I'm going there over a JD Martinez. Hit 30 home runs and 69 RBIs last season. So if you're going to consider a JD Martinez type of player to boost the offense, then Rooker makes a lot of sense. He's only making $750K. He's under control for 3 more years. I mean, Oakland doesn't really want the guy, do they? Do they? I think, you could package Dylan Carlson or somebody, ship him out to Oakland, bring in Brent Rooker. I mean, just an idea. We're just spitting out ideas here, okay? Another former Oakland A, current Met, Sean Manaea, another guy to maybe look at. Could be intriguing. He's 3-2, 3.63 ERA, ERA plus of 105. Nothing spectacular, but would you rather have Sean Manaea, or would you rather pray that Steven Matz is going to be healthy, And we know Matz can go to the bullpen if he needs to, if he needs to. So I'm just spitballing here, guys, just spitballing. So who are some other names? Why don't you throw out some that could be realistic targets? All right. Don't give me Mike Trout and Vladimir Guerrero and Jazz Chisholm. Those moves are probably not going to happen. You can throw them out there if you want, I guess. I mean, it's your choice, but probably not going to happen. But who are some other names that you'd want to see the Cardinals look into? Let me know in the comments section. And I want to talk about Jordan Walker, another guy that, again, could bring a boost to this team like Tommy Edman later on down the road whenever he's able to get called back up from AAA Memphis. We'll let you know what he's been doing recently down at AAA next on Locked On Cardinals. It's winner take all time in the NBA and the NHL, and FanDuel is giving you a shot to bring home a big win of your own. Right now, new customers get $150 in bonus bets with any winning $5 bet. That's $150 to bet on whatever you want. You can go spreads, you can go money lines, you can go player props, which is a whole lot of fun and a whole lot more. My buddy tonight, who is not a Cardinals fan, but had a feeling the Cardinals will pull out a victory on Sunday night. This was like when the game was still tied 4-4. He's like, I'm betting on the Cardinals. I think they're going to do it. They're going to beat the Phillies tonight. And I was like, all right, man. And at first I told him, I was like, maybe don't put that bet in at FanDuel because usually teams he roots for don't do very well. Like they usually something tragic happens and they lose, but pulled it off. Ended up making some money tonight on FanDuel because he bet on the Cardinals during the in-game betting that's allowed there. So you can win that way as well. Visit FanDuel.com/lockedon and make every playoff shot count because we've got the NBA Finals coming up. We got the Stanley Cup Finals coming up. We know who's going to be in. We got Boston and Dallas in the NBA. In the NHL, it's going to be Florida and Edmonton. It's a lot of fun to be had here in the finals for both sides. So visit FanDuel.com/lockedon. Once again, make every playoff shot count. FanDuel, America's #1 sports book. Locked On has launched the first ever national sports 24/7 streaming channel on YouTube, and it's now also available on Amazon Fire TV and the free Fire TV channels app. Locked On Sports Today is here for you 24/7, covering the top sports stories of the day with the local experts of Locked On, plus our national shows, which cover every league. You can find Locked On Sports Today now available on the free Fire TV channels app. So the series of Philadelphia is what it is. I had no illusions that the Cardinals would just trot on in after taking 2 of 3 in Cincinnati and then just start knocking the Phillies around. That was not something that I expected to happen. Phillies are the best team in baseball in my eyes. They just have a better pitching staff than everybody else. Their offense is outstanding, and they're missing Trey Turner right now. And they're still that good. That trio that they've got in the starting rotation looks like Suarez is going to be fine after taking that line drive in game 2 against the Cardinals off of his hand. Looks like he's going to be fine. But those 3 guys, Nola, Wheeler, and Ranger Suarez, they're better than most teams' #1s, all 3 of them. And they got 3 of those dudes. So we'll talk more about the Phillies series coming up on our next episode. And we'll have a preview of what's going to happen in Houston. But I wanted to take a moment to talk about Jordan Walker, a guy that was supposed to be a major part of the Cardinals offense this season. And it hasn't happened yet. All about the struggles at the MLB level. He wasn't getting hits. Last year when they sit him down, he was at least getting hits. He wasn't doing that at all. And we know that there was no power whatsoever. Hadn't had a home run yet. He's been out at Memphis working on things, and there's certainly been some ups and downs since he's been at AAA. It hasn't been all sunshine and rainbows for Jordan Walker down there so far, but things have been turning for the better for the 22-year-old. Finally hit his first home run for 2024 at any level on Saturday night. It was a moonshot. Also recently hit 4 balls over 100 miles per hour during a game. And so far at Memphis in total, Walker's not lighting it up by any means. I mean, I'm not saying like, oh my gosh, look at these numbers. What's he doing down there? I mean, he's hitting 266. He's got the 1 home run now. Just 9 RBIs, 2 stolen bases, on-base percentage 314, slugging 385, OPS 699. None of those numbers jump off the page at you and go, yes, he's back. But he's working on it. And I know, especially now that Newt's out again and going to be for a while because those oblique strains are a pain in the butt, people are craving someone other than Dylan Carlson in the lineup and in the outfield. And I get it. I completely get it because Carlson, as much as I've been trying to root for this guy, he has just I don't see anything I see nothing in his game that makes me excited about his future, that he's going to turn the corner at any moment. And I know he's coming back from an injury, but I struggle. I hardly ever see this guy hit the ball hard anymore. He doesn't look like he runs all that well anymore. And, it looks like he's a 33-year-old guy trapped inside a mid-20s body. Like, it's not a good look. But if Donovan's going to be okay, he's missed the last couple of games with the neck injury. And if he doesn't need an IL stent because of the neck, then you aren't really pressed into pulling Jordan Walker up yet. You can have Donnie in left field. Siani with that defense has been great in center field. Burley in right field. DC is your fourth guy because you have to. You got to have a fourth guy. I also think they've dabbled. I think I read that Jose Fermin has been working a little bit in the outfield, trying to, add that to his repertoire, because we know he's an infielder by trade. But if you can use him in the outfield as well, that'd be nice, because he's an extra right-handed bat, something that the Cardinals don't have a ton of coming off the bench. But I wouldn't expect to see Walker back up with the Cardinals anytime soon unless they have to bring him up. And if they have to bring him up, he's probably going to start every day. And looking at his numbers, and I know they're getting better, I don't think he's quite there yet. And so hopefully they continue to take their time with him. And when he's ready, they'll grab him and they'll bring him back up. And hopefully he'll be fine after that. Before we wrap things up today, I do want to give a quick shout out to Luken Baker. All right, Luken Baker, monster year last year, right? Remember, almost won the Triple Crown at Memphis despite not even playing the whole season down there. The Cardinals brought him up a couple of times, and he didn't find much success at the major league level with St. Louis. Back at Memphis again this year after spring training, had a slow start, and you feel for the guy, because what else has he got to prove at the AAA level after doing what he did last year? But Cardinals didn't have any space for him, so send him back to Memphis. Slow start, but he's heating up again. The batting average, not where we saw it last year. Last year, he hit 334, which was ridiculous. He's not a 334 type of hitter. Only batting 228 so far this season. But in the month of May, a more respectable 253. He's now tied for the league lead, the International League, AAA League, in home runs with 14 again. He's right up there again. Tied for first with 14, and he's tied for fourth place in RBIs with 40. Will he get another chance at the major league level with the Cardinals at age 27? That I don't know. Something would have to happen to Paul Goldschmidt, I think, for Luken Baker to get back up on this club. Could he be used as a trade piece later on for somebody like a Brent Rooker and send him with Dylan Carlson over to the Oakland A's and bring Brent Rooker to St. Louis? Could that happen? I don't know. But he is mashing again at AAA, and I just wanted to give him some love, because he had a great season last year, and it just doesn't look like it's going to work out in the Cardinals organization for him, but it hasn't stopped him from doing his job at AAA. And hopefully, if he does get a chance with the Cardinals at some point, they can use him and send him somewhere, bring something back to St. Louis, but get a chance to go play somewhere else. So shout out to you, Luken Baker. Cardinals are off to Houston. Kyle Gibson will get the ball against Kate Upton's husband, Justin Verlander, on Monday night, a future Hall of Famer. I say that as a joke because he's got a famous hot wife. I mean, that's just the truth. But Justin Verlander doesn't need a hot wife for you to know who he is. The guy has been a stud in this league for a super long time, and he's pitched pretty well for Houston so far this year. So he's getting the start on Monday. Going to be a tough test for the Cardinals. But like I said, we'll talk more about the Phillies series, and we'll talk about the Astros series coming up in our next episode. So thank you for making Locked On Cardinals your first listen every day. If you haven't already, give us a follow on Twitter, X at @LO_Cardinals and at JD Sports Radio. Please like and subscribe on YouTube. That way you can help our channel and love for the Cardinals grow. Very important with the likes and subscribes each and every episode. Make sure you're hitting that like button. It'll take you just a second. Like that. Boom. Look at it. Every time I snap, like button could be hit. That really, really helps us out. You have no idea. So you're the best fans of baseball for a reason, and I'm going to see you next time, which will be tomorrow on Locked On Cardinals. Have a good one.